All right, today we're cracking open the books on one of Singapore's absolute supermarket giants, Sheng Siong. We're going to take a deep dive into their latest quarterly report to really understand what's behind their pretty impressive growth.
You know, every time you're wandering down the aisle, there's this massive business operation just humming along in the background. While Sheng Siong's latest numbers, they give us this really fascinating peek under the hood. It shows us their powerful growth engine, but also some of the big challenges that might be just around the corner.
Okay, let's get right into it. Because, at first glance, the top-line results for the third quarter of 2025 are, well, they're seriously impressive.
The very first number that just jumps off the page is their revenue. They hit a massive $415.5 million just for the quarter.
And here's what's really stunning. The growth. That's up 14.4% compared to the exact same time last year. For a company this big, that is a huge leap.
But hey, it's not just about how much you sell, right? It's about what's left after you pay all the bills. Well, their net profit also saw a very, very healthy 12% jump. And that shows the business isn't just getting bigger, it's getting more profitable, which, as you know, is exactly what investors love to see.
So on the surface, it was a fantastic quarter. But the real question is, where is all this growth actually coming from? Let's peel back a layer and see what's really driving these numbers. Now, this table right here, this is where the story gets really clear. A huge chunk of that growth, 10.1%, is coming from brand new stores. Yeah, their existing stores are growing too, which is great, but it's obvious the real engine here is their super aggressive expansion plan.
And this chart just puts that expansion into perspective. I mean, look at that jump. They went from 73 stores at the end of 2024 to 84 by September 2025. That's 11 new locations in less than a year. They are just flat out opening new stores to grab more of the market. But as you can imagine, opening new stores and growing this fast, it's not cheap. And this is where the financial story starts to get a little more complicated. It's a classic balancing act.
Okay, so this is probably the most crucial point. While the revenue grew by that awesome 14.4%, their selling and distribution expenses, the core costs of actually running the stores, grew even faster at 17.3%. This starts to squeeze their profit margins, and that's a huge deal in the supermarket business, which is already known for having razor-thin margins.
So why are costs rising so fast? Well, the report lays it out pretty clearly. First, they're hiring more staff for all those new stores. That makes perfect sense. Second, they're paying out bigger bonuses because, hey, the company's doing well. And finally, you've got these accounting costs, like depreciation on things like new freezers and store fittings, and all the costs that come with signing a bunch of new property leases.
So this brings us to the million-dollar question. How is Sheng Siong planning to manage this really delicate balance between that aggressive expansion and their rising costs as they look toward the future?
And you know what? The CEO himself, Lim Hock Chi, he pretty much gives us the answer. They are not slowing down. In fact, it looks like they're doubling down, investing a staggering $520 million in a massive new distribution center. They're building the foundation for even more growth. And an investment this big, well, it's also a long-term play to streamline their logistics and hopefully control those distribution costs down the road.
So, their strategy is pretty clear, and it really comes down to three main things. First, keep expanding the store network. No surprise there. Second, get smarter about how they operate. Use technology and automation. That's their direct answer to controlling those rising staff costs we just talked about. And third, improve the mix of what they actually sell by focusing on more profitable items, like their own house brands.
But of course, it's never that easy. The report is pretty upfront about the headwinds they're facing. Competition in the grocery world is just brutal, with rivals fighting for every single dollar. In a tight labor market like this, manpower costs are probably only going to go up. And on top of that, you've got these global risks, like geopolitical events that could mess with supply chains, and the ever-growing and often hidden cost of just doing business, things like compliance and sustainability reporting.
So, when you put all these pieces together, the strong sales, the rapid expansion, the rising costs, and their future plans, what's the one big takeaway from all this?
It really boils down to this classic business challenge, doesn't it? Sheng Siong has a clear and really successful formula for growth: open more stores. The true test for them moving forward is going to be their ability to manage all the costs that come with that expansion, to make sure that bigger also means better for the bottom line.
And that really leaves us with a final question to think about. For a brand that was built on providing value to its customers, how do you keep that promise while you're managing rising costs and the immense complexity that comes with becoming a much, much larger company? That will be the story to watch.